Today, we're talking about the drama surrounding the TikTok tunnel girl, and how an IT director went viral on TikTok after she started a massive construction project building a mining tunnel in her own basement. This project has been going on for over a year now, and critics across TikTok and Reddit are calling Kala, the tunnel girl, out for not following safety regulations or considering her neighbor's quality of life, which led to recent events where Kala's tunnel operation was temporarily shut down by the local authorities for lack of proper permits. And I pulled together all of the details, so at the end, you can decide if Kala, the tunnel girl, is in the wrong, or if people are just being too hard on her. But if it's your first time here, hi, I'm Austin. I make videos staying caught up on the latest internet drama and news, so if that sounds like your thing, feel free to stick around. And if you have any stories you'd like to see a video on, feel free to send me it over on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. Thank you so much to everybody that's helped the channel reach 50,000 subs. We've been growing so fast lately, and I've really enjoyed making these videos. At this rate, it's kinda unreal, but we'll probably reach 100,000 sometime in March. So if you want to say you found my channel before it was cool, now is your chance. I have weekly content planned for the next few months, including a huge video on the 9-month world cruise drama that's coming next week. So stay tuned. And even if you don't decide to subscribe, thank you so much for watching. Now, let's just get into it. First of all, who is the tunnel girl? Well, her name is Kala, and she goes by Engineer Everything on TikTok. Back on November 10th, 2022, Kala replied to a comment under one of her TikToks, which said, "What do you do for a living/career? Just general idea, no need for specifics." And Kala replied, "IT director. I do this kind of crazy DIY stuff to counterbalance the mental pressure of my work." And we'll see what kind of crazy DIY stuff she's talking about in just a moment, because I'm gonna walk you through Kala's entire tunnel saga from the beginning so you can see just how insane this project really is. It all started on October 23rd, 2022, when Kala uploaded this TikTok.
I am about to embark on a new and complex project. I'm planning to construct a storm shelter off the side of my basement. It's going to take a very long time, a lot of engineering, and a lot of planning and work to make it happen, and I will be posting updates.
The very same day, Kala posted 2 more videos cutting the door for the tunnel.
Cutting the door part 1. After carving the vertical cuts, it's time to chip the remaining concrete. I still have so long to go.
Kala also replies to a comment under the part 1 video, saying that she's working with a helper. A little bit later, she uploaded this video.
Finally, the opening in the wall is complete. Now it is time to cut the waterproof membrane and see what is behind the wall. At this point, I am fairly apprehensive because I do not know what is at the other side of the membrane. There could be water buildup, a lot of loose rock. I'm not exactly sure until I cut it open. As I continue cutting, I notice that there is a lot of hardened concrete that was poured along with the backfill gravel behind the wall, and that is something that I'm going to have to cut out, but nothing that can't be accomplished.
And 3 days later, on October 26, 2022, Kala uploaded this storm shelter update video.
Working on the storm shelter. Got a few feet excavated out, putting it all in a pile.
And don't worry, from this point onward, people have been in her comments pretty much daily saying things like, "Wow, it's real-life Minecraft." The next day, Kala built a rock lifting mechanism for the basement.
We finally started working on the elevator. The elevator is supported by 2 6x6 pillars and 1 laminated beam made out of 2x10s. The beam is around 300 pounds and will support the hoist mechanism and the elevator cart.
The music choice is wild, but I think it's inspired by her whole dream of building a castle, which will come up later in the story. But a couple days after this, on October 29th, 2022, Kala started running into some problems.
We're running into some problems that have put us into a dead halt. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of water seepage. It's not a blocker, but it is irritating. We have run out of space for excavated rock and have to get the elevator working now. The power cord has started smoking and sparking, and I really need to replace it. The biggest problem is that the jackhammer has stopped working. A few of the bolts have come out, and I think some of the internal components broke, and I need to get that fixed.
Yeah, the video really does cut off like that. And at this point, I might start questioning Kala's ability to pull this thing off. 2 weeks later, on November 9th, 2022, Kala uploaded this video responding to a comment that says, "This is the most idiotic thing I've ever watched. How are you gonna weld in your house, 1? And 2, what the hell are you gonna weld?"
I am going to weld a mine elevator cart for my basement project using sheet metal and angle iron per the scale model that I created first. I am fabricating in my laundry room, so space is very tight. The new outlet is working very well.
Casually welding in your laundry room is actually insane. But at the same time, she's doing what all dads wish they could do. Unfortunately, there's a reason people don't weld in their laundry rooms, which Kala found out 2 days later when she uploaded this video saying, "Why did no one tell me that fabricating in the house ruins the house?" In the description, Kala writes, "I have steel shavings in my bed and soot in the kitchen," with people in the comments writing things like, "I feel like this is a duh moment, and I have a feeling people did tell you." Regardless, Kala kept the project moving, and 4 days later, on November 15th, 2022, she posted this update video about her mine elevator cart.
What color would you paint DIY mining equipment? I just finished making this 150-pound mine elevator cart, and I'm about to sand it and paint it and get ready for installing it on a lift so that I can put it into production.
Things seem to be looking up, but the road bumps are far from over, because just a few days later, Kala posted a video saying, "POV, you cut corners and now your structure has collapsed?"
I am now going to try fixing it with this.
Yeah, things are not looking too hot, but Kala seemed to get things moving again quickly, because the next day, on November 20th, Kala posted a video testing the mine elevator for the first time.
First test. Lost some of the load over the edge. Got a dumpster. Second test. Still having problems. Dumping on the ground. Third test. This time it's working perfectly.
At this point, production picked up quite a bit, which was covered by Kala a week later when she posted this storm shelter update video on November 27th, 2022.
13 feet of excavation is now complete. We are making good progress on the storm shelter and have excavated a second pile of rock. This is approximately 10 cubic yards, and we have a dumpster arriving tomorrow, removing the second dumpster completely full.
And as Kala started digging deeper, she continued to discover more and more problems.
Crystalline silica. The fine dust released when breaking rock is a true menace when excavating a storm shelter. It lingers in the air and spreads throughout the house and settles on surfaces. I need to find a solution to this problem, and I'm planning to engineer a filtration system.
I cannot imagine living in that. It looks like she's living in The Last of Us. On December 6th, 2022, Kala responded to a comment talking about part of the tunnel that collapsed.
Some of it did collapse today. Big chunk of rock from around here fell down overnight and collapsed onto the ground here. There's also a few more that are probably going to let go. I have to do some scaling and probably bolting as well. As an engineer, it is my job to solve geotechnical problems. If you're still laughing, then
I have no idea how she learned how to do any of this. Like I mentioned earlier, she's not actually an engineer, and her degree is actually in finance. But I'll explain how we found that out in a little bit. First, on December 17th, Kala posted this video, sharing her progress so far.
Another weekly update on the storm shelter. We are done with excavation for right now and will be concentrating on shoring the ceiling and completing the walls. Over the next few days, I plan to complete the air filtration and ventilation system. Elevator load number 99. Dumpster load number 5 being removed.
A few days later, on December 20th, Kala uploaded a video explaining her process of adding utilities to the storm shelter.
A proper storm shelter requires a lot of utilities. Today I'm installing all of the pipes and conduits. The green thin wall PVC is going to be for air ventilation and the other pipes for different utilities. And now it's done. This is how legends are made. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. This is how legends are made. Above it all.
That was beautiful. Not only is Kala an engineer, she's also a singer, too. But at this point, Kala left town for a few days around Christmas. And when she came back, the tunnel wasn't looking so good.
I just got back in town after a few days Christmas travel, and the storm shelter is filling with water. The water looks dark and terrible like sewer water. I better start pumping. Now that the hose is no longer obstructed with a kink, the water is flowing much more freely into the main central sump system. After an hour of pumping, the water level is dropping.
Once 2023 kicked off, Kala hit the ground running, and she took care of even more of the tunnel's issues.
I need to install some rock bolts. So first I need to drill a few holes in the overhead rock over the storm shelter. This area is very important because it is the intersection of Phase 1 and Phase 2. I've had some issues with rocks coming down. And here we have my crazy homebrewed rock bolting system. Welded rebar and a grout pump made out of a rod and tube. On the one end is a funnel to fill with grout. Unfortunately, the rock bolt is not long enough, and I don't think I got quite enough grout inside for this to be truly effective. So I need to improve and iterate on the design. Just keep a last few taps.
Kala's ability to solve all of these obscure engineering problems is way too impressive. Sure, things might go wrong at any moment, but her ability to learn and do pretty much whatever she wants to is crazy.
At 22 feet in depth, the storm shelter is finally taking shape. Originally, I was going to build the ceiling of the storm shelter out of solid concrete blocks arranged in an arch, but I got a lot of comments in a previous video favoring a poured concrete ceiling instead. So I think that is a good idea and we'll be doing that instead. For those that asked, this is a simple elevation that shows the storm shelter in relation with the existing house.
And once again, Kala uploaded a video on February 4th, 2023, sharing how she isn't actually an engineer. However, Kala knows that there's still a lot to learn, and she isn't afraid to take advice from actual professionals in her comments.
This comment is exceptional. I was struggling to figure out how to get concrete over the tunnel form, and very likely I would not have thought of this method myself. After loading, the concrete is flowing nicely. I also got a good suggestion to use a Sawzall to vibrate the form. I'm using a massage gun, and it's getting all the bubbles out and causing the concrete to flow into place. My Amazon mixer is holding up and doing a great job.
You can just buy a cement mixer on Amazon. It's not even that expensive, and there's Prime delivery. Man, America's pretty awesome.
I'm in a tunnel with 5,000 pounds of wet concrete over my head, and the only thing separating me from becoming a pancake is my own engineering.
After a week went by, Kala uploaded this tunnel ceiling reveal video on February 26.
Last week I poured the first tunnel ceiling segment. Now it is time to remove the forms. The form is detaching from the concrete better than expected. And now we can see the finish.
So far, so good. Over the next month, Kala continued to build out the tunnel. Then, on March 19th, she uploaded this video explaining her updated full extraction workflow.
Today I present to you the end-to-end workflow for removing all of the rock from inside the storm shelter. The first step is loading an electric minecart, driving it out of the tunnel into the main basement and up a ramp to the window. The minecart capacity is approximately 200 to 300 pounds, and at the other side of the window is an elevator. The elevator which hoists the load out of the window well has a capacity of over 1,000 pounds. Load number 129. After the truck is fully loaded, I drive to the front of the house where a dumpster has been dropped off. I drive the truck alongside the dumpster to make it easy to transfer the load. Unfortunately, the dumpster truck is too big and heavy to get behind the house, so I do have this extra manual step. I don't mind the work though, and it's not too bad. It's mostly mechanized.
I know she gets some help, but it's crazy she's doing a majority of this project by herself. Where is she finding the energy? Throughout March and April, Kala got a lot more done with the tunnel. She created a brick wall for a basin to pump water out of. Then she put rebar up on the wall to help reinforce the concrete when it gets poured. But once May came around, Kala ran into a lot more problems.
This problem is going to get solved today. I'm building a secret storm shelter under my house, and an issue that I've had since the very beginning is groundwater and having to pump it out manually all the time. Now that I have a proper pump, I need to connect it to the discharge pipe, which I already buried alongside the main tunnel. I had an unexpected setback and had to come back with a respirator for chemical cleanup.
So one question I have is, if Kala is digging into the groundwater, could she possibly affect the well water of any of the houses around her? I don't know, but it's something I'd be worried about considering she just had a casual chemical leak. However, I think the worst of Kala's whole tunnel saga came 2 months later on July 13th, 2023, when she uploaded this video labeled Tunnel Fire.
I've come to know a new drawback using fiberglass rebar. Apologize for the poor camera work. This is my first time using a fire extinguisher and I'm a bit in a panic. It's been a few minutes and I'm curious how discharging a fire extinguisher in a confined space affects air quality. The oxygen level still looks good. Obviously there would be a lot of carbon dioxide and I see carbon monoxide from the fire. What a setback.
Oh my god, recording a fire is insane. Did she wait to run down there until she started recording? Like, what was the thinking there? Well, Kala explains some of the backstory here.
I am investigating a fire that broke out in my tunnel. Last night I was welding some steel forms and the rebar and membrane caught fire. I was able to put it out quickly with an extinguisher and the damage is not very severe. A couple of sticks of rebar and some plastic appear compromised. I have to remove a section of form to complete investigation and make repairs. The fire could have been significantly worse, as it happened just as I finished welding for the night. I went upstairs without noticing any problem. A couple minutes later, I came back down with some steel wool to do cleanup, and I heard crackling inside the tunnel. I was shocked. The fire was being turbocharged by the exhaust ventilation, and the first thing I did was shut down the blower. I was concerned about smoke and carbon monoxide in the tunnel, so I had to put it out quickly and use the fire extinguisher to do so. It worked great. Have a bunch of corrosive dust to clean up, but better than the alternative.
Man, I get freaked out just using the oven. I really don't know how she can just be so chill about starting a welding fire in her house. A few days later, Kala posted this video responding to a comment that says, "Seems like everything that can go wrong has been going wrong." But despite the setbacks, Kala brought a team of workers into her basement tunnel to help start pouring all of the concrete.
done.
Kala replied to a couple comments on the video that said, "Was it stressful having so many people in your space? Yes, I'm with OSHA. Who's in charge here? LOL." And Kala replied with a worried emoji. 2 days later, Kala posts this retrospective analysis on how the concrete pour went. Okay, but can she fix the issue of the music being so freaking loud in the background of every video? About a week later, Kala posted 2 videos where she removed the forms for the concrete walls. And on August 18th, 2023, she posted her 1-year update for the project, which goes over everything we've walked through so far. And the video ends with Kala adding,
There is still a lot of work left to do, but I am having a blast and enjoying sharing this project with you.
with the caption, "Should I go deeper?" Also, she started the tunnel on October 23rd, so she's about 2 months off from the actual year mark. Regardless, Kala continued making updates to her workflow, which included moving the dumpster closer to the mine elevator to help make excavation far easier. From here, Kala had to fix the issues with the concrete walls not pouring correctly, which meant jackhammering the messed up sections away just so she can do it all over again. Her determination to complete this tunnel is unreal. On September 1st, a commenter asked Kala, "Can we have a walkthrough?" And she uploaded this video showing her house under construction.
We are now in my normal-looking basement. I'm renovating this room, it's a bit haunted, and off the side of the laundry room is a hoarded bedroom and my workshop. Moving further back is my home office and the entrance to the sub-basement. Everything on this side of the house was built by me a few years ago, and the spiral staircase goes down a hexagonal well. The sub-basement is a great mess since I have been building tunnels off of it for the last year. This is the entrance to the tunnel system, and to the side is the steampunk mechanical box. The entrance tunnel goes down a decline 30 feet in and 10 feet down. The first chamber is 22 feet below grade and is approximately 10 feet by 6 feet. The sump basin is covered up in that corner. There is a pile of useful building stones stacked here, and some waste rubble here. I am currently working on this branch tunnel and was recently stopped dead by getting splattered in the eye with Dexpan. That stuff is very alkaline and damaging to the eyes. I'll make a separate video about that. And looking back, this is the entrance tunnel. What do you think? Should I convert my house into an Airbnb?
Again, with the music being way too loud, but also her house. It's kind of a nightmare. I couldn't imagine living like that for the past year. At this point in the saga, for whatever reason, Kala starts shifting away from calling the tunnel a storm shelter, and instead starts this new narrative thing where she's building a castle. The first evidence of this was on September 16th, in another video uploaded later that day. Kala responds to a comment that says, "Hi there, I might have missed it, but have you told us about your plans for your castle? If not, when you have time, could you please?"
I love castles, especially medieval ones, but also Victorian Gothic Revival country homes. One day I am going to construct one with stone walls, battlements, catacombs, alligator-filled moat, and a rusty drawbridge.
I can't tell if she's being serious, because if Kala actually wants to build a castle, I'm convinced she's going to build a freaking castle. I'd never want to live in or go near anything she's built, but I know she would do it. Around the middle of September, Kala started getting a lot of similar comments under her videos, with people saying things like, "Have you considered putting in an eel pit?" And "This is fun. You're maybe the most original content creator out there besides eel pit." Which is why we need to take a mini detour so I can show you Cow Turtle, the eel pit guy. He works at an aquarium shop, and at home, he just happens to have a giant unused rainwater tank under his garage, which has been turned into a massive aquarium with eel, among many other things. Here's a recent video of his from December 1st, 2023.
Hi everybody. So today in the eel pit, it is getting cold outside, so we're getting in those near freezing air temperatures. The pit does stay a little bit insulated, so it's not too cold, but I did way too big of a water change the other day. So here the water's just a few inches, but we get to see some of the guys we usually don't, like all the catfish. One of the blue crabs was out in the middle there. But yeah, as you can see, I really took the water down. I left it draining a little too long. But then over here is one of the long-nosed gar. You'll see he spooks here in a minute. I don't give updates on him too much just because he's just so small, and he still doesn't really like me being in the pit. So when I do film him, he usually just freaks out. But everyone else in the pit is doing really well. You can see there Garfield and Garlic and a pile of other fish in the back corner there. And here's a good look at the sturgeon, Caviar and Roe, my 2 diamond sturgeon. And there's Strawberry and Vanilla Bean, my 2 albino sterlets.
This guy is awesome. I can't believe he has all of these animals just swimming around under his house. If you find this content at all interesting, I definitely recommend going and checking out his account. I'm only showing part of one of his videos, but I spent over an hour watching all of the eel pit content, and it's incredible. But back to Kala, because being the 2 biggest basement tunnel people on TikTok, they got compared in the comments almost daily. However, Kala never saw it as competition, and even replied to the earlier comment, making a joke saying that she's thought about putting an eel pit in herself. A couple weeks later, on October 6th, Kala uploaded another video talking about this castle she's building.
Over the last couple of weeks, the production rate at my suburban mine has been at its highest yet. I am currently quarrying stone for building a castle. I will need millions of them. I have been harvesting a nice vein of building stone, but I'm concerned that it is starting to peter out as I move north. Nevertheless, I'm getting quite a bit of nice stone. The layer is 22 feet underground and about 10 inches thick. As I exhaust the main section, it is becoming smaller and progressively more brittle. I waited for an empty dumpster to bring up some of the stone. I don't want to mix it with the waste rock. After removing it from the dumpster, I stacked some of the smaller pieces against my wall to see how it might look. It is just rough stacked. What do you think?
I think that the medieval music playing in the background makes you sound like a Skyrim NPC. 2 weeks later, on October 14th, Kala uploaded a video responding to a comment that says, "This woman is digging for something, and I'm not even sure she knows what it is."
I am mining for stone under my suburban house and have got a new challenge. Recently, I've been exploiting a single layer of hardened sandstone. It is wonderful as the rock breaks easily into blocks. I feel like I'm playing Minecraft. They will be easy to utilize in my plans of constructing a tower off the side of my house and eventually a castle.
Kala is building that castle no matter what it takes. But, as usual, new random problems keep popping up.
Every day is a great day, but some are less great than others. The minecart got tangled in an extension cord that was laying over top of the ramp and it overturned. In doing so, it took out a wire and plumbing riser and a stud. Just shattered it, stripped the insulation off this wire, completely broke this one. Fortunately, the sump pipe was connected with rubber couplings on both ends. I guess I'm going to have to add loose extension cords to my list of workplace hazards that need monitoring and management.
This, however, is hardly a setback for Kala. And less than a week later, she posted a video where she completed a 2-week mining marathon in order to save on dumpster rental costs.
Previously, I made a video about a constraint in my suburban mining operation. I can only rent a dumpster for 2 weeks at a time and cannot mine fast enough, so I end up staging the rock in my basement, which causes double work. My conclusion was that I need to mine faster, so I will attempt exactly that in a 2-week marathon.
And I don't really need to show you the details, because despite even more obstacles, Kala obviously finished her insane goal.
There, managed to mine 10 tons in 2 weeks.
In a video on November 2nd, Kala responds to a comment asking how the rock bolts work.
Let's talk about shoring and sinkholes. In the deepest section of my suburban mine, I have not yet installed any supports. I get a lot of comments about the likelihood of collapse or of a sinkhole somehow occurring. That is understandable if dewatering caused underground erosion or if there was widespread subsidence. Fortunately, it's all rock and very stable, although I do plan to shore it eventually. For rock bolting, I drilled 18-inch holes in the ceiling and inserted rebar with some grout. Although this helps avoid small layers of rock falling, professional mines use at least 4-foot bolts and are tensioned in place. I've also used wood supports, though they are temporary as they will rot out. This particular prop has been here over 6 months under the most precarious span. Notice how the ceiling has not subsided at all. But for the long term, especially since this is under my house, I am using steel and reinforced concrete to be airstrike resistant. Fortunately, I've not faced many issues with rock stability and will continue carefully monitoring for safety.
Wait, Oh, why did she say airstrike resistant? What does Kala plan on happening? I thought this was a storm shelter. Earlier, she was talking about how she was going to build a castle wall around her house, along with a moat and crocodiles. Do Kala's enemies have an army made up of just knights and jet pilots? At this point in the story, it's mid-November 2023, and Kala's tunnel content has racked up millions of views over on TikTok. Discussion about the insane project started building up on Reddit, when a thread was started with the title, "Can anyone explain what's going on with Tunnel Girl Kala to me?" There was so much noise that within the next week, Kala's story hit the mainstream, and NBC News posted this article on November 14th. It's titled, "This woman is building a tunnel under her house and documenting it. TikTok users have questions." In the article, they actually interview Kala, saying, Kala, who requested that her full name and location not be used due to safety concerns, said she started to think last year about adding an additional secure space to her home, which she owns, underneath the existing basement. I wouldn't say doomsday bunker, because I'm not really a prepper or concerned about that kind of thing at all. But I just thought it would be neat to have like a little protective shelter area, Kala said in an interview. And so I started working on that. And also, it's a challenge and I live for challenges. It keeps me preoccupied and keeps me entertained. They go on to mention the eel pit guy as being in the same weird niche as Kala. Then they write this, despite what her TikTok username suggests, Kala does not have a formal background in engineering. She said she studied business and finance in school and has spent most of her professional life working in information technology, but that her passions lie in civil and mechanical engineering. She has done most of the tunnel work herself, occasionally tapping friends to assist. "It doesn't take much for me to pick up a skill," Kala said. "I can often learn skills just by doing it with minimal instruction." Kala researched the project by studying the FEMA 453 guidelines, as well as a civil engineering handbook called Rock Mass Classification, a practical approach in civil engineering. Kala goes on to explain how she thinks about safety. She describes safety as her number 1, number 2, and number 3 priority with the project. "I wouldn't say that I'm concerned about safety or structural stability," she said. "For the most part, 99.9%, everything has gone according to plan and according to my engineering. There have been a few very, very minor mishaps." NBC then asked Kala if what she's doing is legal. In regard to the legality of her project, Kala declined to get into specific detail about any permits she may have obtained. She said she's following the rules for building emergency shelters in her local jurisdiction, which she said are different from the regulations around other habitable spaces inside a house. NBC News reviewed the local jurisdiction's code, which states certain emergency shelters on residential properties must follow FEMA-approved shelter types or designs. Kala said she is only building under her property and is not digging under her neighbors' homes. She described her relationship with her neighbors as respectful and said they are well aware of my crazy antics. She said she takes steps to mitigate any nuisances to avoid complaints, such as minimizing any surface vibrations while digging. To me, it sounds like she only did engineering research and no legal research before starting this thing. The article wraps up with this. Kala said she has spent about $50,000 on her project so far. She anticipates that it'll take at least another 6 months to complete the tunnel. "I don't have a strong deadline that it needs to be completed. I enjoy the process very much, and I like to keep busy. It's a hobby for me." In the future, she said she hopes to also build a castle. Again with the castle. I guess she really is serious about it. Following this, Kala worked on repouring the concrete for the walls of her tunnel. Then, 2 weeks after the NBC article, on November 30th, an investigative reporter named Bogado looked into Kala's background and found out some interesting things.
Turns out that, yes, she's a real person, and she's all over social. Like, she has a different TikTok account, she has a Facebook account, Insta, you name it. I found that she has a Twitter account. She follows a whole bunch of the Trump family members and has also liked some of Donald Trump's contributions.
Not the Trump tweets. Kala, I thought you were cool for like a second.
But I assumed, like, if I figure out who she is, then that's gonna let me better understand why she's building this tunnel. And my conclusion is what I started with, which is that she wants to and she can.
Kala's the realest girl boss there's ever been. I'm convinced she could be the next George Santos.
I did find some other interesting things about Kayla and this home. Public records indicate that there are some roommates in the home. Kayla is the sole owner, the sole property owner. And so I'm guessing like they pay rent. I don't know.
Yeah, Kala has to be the worst roommate and landlord to ever exist, I think. How can you do all this with other people living at the house?
Also, one of those roommates seems to work for or has recently worked for a company out of that home that also lists its agents as, among others, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett.
Bro, what is going on? I'm gonna have to make a follow-up deep dive on whatever this roommate situation is.
Her neighbors are also largely people of color, mostly migrants from Central America who speak Espanol. And Kayla's been very clear on her videos that she's not telling her neighbors anything that's happening. And it was hard to kind of figure out who her direct neighbor is because this home is located it's almost like a cul-de-sac driveway. It's sort of hard to explain, but the home is encircled by all of these other homes. So it's hard to find on like Google Maps, for example, until you realize like, oh wait, you can see through all of those people's yards. And so you can see like the additions to her home over the years. It definitely made for some interesting viewing. But I do wonder about her neighbors, especially people like right next door to her. I'm thinking about contacting them. I don't know.
This is foreshadowing part of the story that will come up very soon. But let's jump back to Kala and her tunnel, because it's now December and we're almost caught up to date. On December 9th, this video was uploaded by Kala with the caption, "Hazard Mitigation."
Welding in a confined space can be very hazardous, especially if it's a tinderbox. I have been working in my tunnel engineering form supports, and the space is full of sawdust and plentiful combustible material. Unfortunately, I have to weld a couple support brackets onto the sheet. Here are some safety considerations. First, I am cleaning the workplace, removing any loose pieces, and spreading a bit of water to dampen the sawdust. A full fire extinguisher is at hand. I am covering my safety boots with my pants to avoid burns, and turning off the ventilation to reduce oxygen. Have sheets of steel ready to block the entrance in case of uncontrolled fire, as there should always be redundancy and hazard mitigation. During welding, I had a helper watching for fire. It's looking pretty good. And after the work was complete, I waited an hour to watch for embers. Though I don't recommend this for home, if you do find yourself in a flammable space, it is important to have documented safety protocols.
She seems like she's being mostly safe, but I would have so much anxiety the entire time. I can't imagine being the roommate that has to be a helper standing inside a tinderbox while Kala's welding. I really hope they're okay with all of this. But now it's Christmas Eve 2023, and we're pretty much caught up with all things related to Kala's tunnel construction project so far. We need to take a 1-minute detour to talk about a video that Kala uploaded on December 24th, which comes up a lot later as people criticize her engineering skills.
Previously, I brought home a broken redbud tree which was 90% off. I tried to fix it using wood glue and a clamp. I even staked it up and was feeling quite pleased with myself. A couple months later, it is still alive, but the split is not really healing, and there are some suckers coming up from the ground, which is common in stressed or grafted trees. The trunk broke in the winter wind.
Yeah, I could have predicted that. She really tried to glue a tree back together. But now, this is where things really take off, because rumors began popping up on December 26th, with talk of Kala getting reported and her tunnel project being shut down. On Reddit, somebody posted, "Tunnel lady reported? I'm hopeful for her neighbors that more oversight will happen with her project. I think she really gets mileage over misleading that she's an engineer, when in reality, she's actually a software engineer who does things like welding in a small space full of wood scaffolding and trying to glue a broken tree back together with wood glue." A comment under the post says, "I was on her live about a month ago. She doxed her home address by showing a magazine subscription she has. Maybe that's how she got reported. Something about her is still so freaking strange to me. In that live, there was clearly someone in her house. I heard toilets flushing and someone giggling behind the camera. But she didn't acknowledge that anyone was with her in the house. She was cleaning silently in a dress and high heels." And the next day, an even larger Reddit thread was created titled, "Tunnel Girl, Kala, Engineer Everything, is a fraud." Kala is absolutely lying to everyone. Without doxing, you'll see she has zero engineering experience. She has a finance degree. Her home is surrounded by other people's homes and land. She is on 0.25 acres. She has had zero permits to do this project, which is why she is so vague and doesn't answer those questions. She lets people assume she was qualified and ran with it. What she is doing is extremely dangerous and putting other people's homes at risk. They include a bird's eye Google Maps photo showing the property line and the surrounding houses. There's also a screenshot of Kala's LinkedIn page, which confirms her having a finance degree and working in IT. Comments under the thread all agree on the project being extremely dangerous and risky. And on December 28th, the rumors of being shut down finally reached Kala, and she responded by uploading this reenactment of how the whole situation went down.
Good morning. I need a moment to pull over. Just give me a second. Are you sure that's what they said? They're from the city?
Why did she write herself pulling over into the sketch? That's so much unneeded work. Getting an outside car shot? Why can't you just start in a parking lot or something?
Yeah, I'm not available right now. Can you see if they'll come back tomorrow? Yeah, 10 o'clock. That's fine. Okay, bye.
I love how she just wrote all of this exposition into the sketch for no reason, just so we know she wasn't actually home on the day they called.
Hello.
Good morning, how you doing?
Good morning.
I don't know if you remember me, I'm Jack Smith.
Yes.
I'm a Bayport, building official. This is Jimmy Jones with the zoning department and Brian with inspections.
How is she the one that wrote the script and hired the voice actor, but the captions on screen are still wrong? Also, it sounds like she hired a Joe from Family Guy impersonator.
What can I do for you?
We have some complaints, basically there's some construction going on. And we were just here, basically, to find out if there is and see what needs to be done.
What kind of construction?
Basically they said it's excavation. That you're pulling stuff out of the basement.
How many times is Joe from Family Guy gonna say the word basically?
Yeah, a little bit.
Can we go down and take a look?
Sure.
Okay.
So they did give me a stop work order and are requiring an immediate evaluation by a professional engineer. Fortunately, contrary to few rumors here, it is constructed entirely below the slab of my house, and it shouldn't be too hard to get the permits and approval. So we'll be working on that.
So, Kala is shut down at the moment. But, as usual, she doesn't see that as too much of an obstacle. At this point in the saga, many other people started hearing about this online as the news was hitting the mainstream. One TikToker posted the same day, drawing attention to a recent fatal accident involving an at-home tunnel construction project in Bethesda, Maryland. It was caused by millionaire stock trader Daniel Beckwith, who was convicted of second-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter in April 2019 for the murder of 21-year-old Askia Kafra. This all happened because of extreme hoarding conditions in Daniel's home, prevented Kafra from escaping after a fire broke out above the tunnels. This ABC7 news article from March 30th also writes, hours before the fires broke out in the basement, Kafra texted Beckwith to warn him it smelled like smoke in the tunnels. Irez said Beckwith didn't respond for more than 6 hours before telling Kafra that there had been a major electrical failure. Instead of getting Kafra out of the tunnels, Beckwith told him that he just switched it all over to another circuit, according to the prosecutor. They also uncover some more absolutely insane details about the situation. Beckwith went to elaborate lengths to keep the project a secret. He tried to trick Kafra into thinking they were digging the tunnels in Virginia instead of Maryland by having him don blackout glasses before taking him on a long drive. Kafra had a cell phone with him in the tunnels, but Beckwith used internet spoofing to make it appear they were digging in Virginia. Kafra worked in the tunnels for days at a time, eating and sleeping in there, and urinating and defecating into a bucket Beckwith lowered down to him. The tunnels had lights, an air circulation system, and a heater. A hole in the concrete basement floor led to a shaft that dropped down 20 feet, or 6 meters, into a tunnel that branched out roughly 200 feet, or 60 meters in length. Investigators concluded the blaze was ignited by a defective electrical outlet in the basement. I have no words to describe how horrible and sad this situation is. And with Kala's tunnel it feels like things could go similarly wrong at some point. Now, let's get back to where we left off on December 28th, because a Reddit post was made questioning a few comment replies from Kala under her TikTok about being shut down. Wait, I thought you had a professional engineer certification. No, I'm a full-stack computer engineer. We don't have PE certs. I would love to switch, but IT pays better. The people now making videos about it's about time. She's not an engineer. I want so bad for you to get approval and to rub it in their faces. Yeah, I don't get some people. Almost all those howling about me being only a computer engineer are not engineers of any kind. Oh no, is this a permits first or else situation? Or a start first and ask for forgiveness permits situation? They were positive and helpful. We'll see. If the permits aren't going to be difficult, is there a reason you couldn't do that first? Good question. One reason is, I was not so sure of the scope when I started. There would have had to be a dozen amendments. That engineer better be impressed. He was. We'll post update soon. Is there a chance of the foundation giving out? No, already evaluated by a PE. Some POS reported you? That's messed up if that's the case. Someone from here. The next day, on December 29th, someone posted on Reddit questioning Kala's use of pink rebar in her concrete reinforcement, saying that she's been using it for everything, including the archway. But that grade of material is typically used for horizontal runs of reinforcement, and shouldn't be bent or else it'll become more breakable when compressed. People replying to the post shared similar ideas, and were concerned about Kala possibly not replacing the rebar after her form initially failed. Around the same time, a video was posted on TikTok from the account Building Code Metalhead, giving his perspective on Kala's tunnel as an actual certified building official.
Hi, my name is Dave. I'm a building official in the U.S. I'm going to talk about Kala. Those of us who are familiar with construction and how loads and forces work have definitely seen a lot of red flags in the work that has been done. I commend her for trying to do something this large on her own, educating herself, but there are still steps that need to be taken by professionals. A structural engineer needs to be involved. A geotechnical engineer needs to be involved. You need to have a contractor. You need to have someone who can take what the engineer gives them and build it, construct it there. You need an electrician to do the work, or at a very little, because she's already done electrical work, you need the authority having jurisdiction to come out and look at the electrical work and make sure it's okay. There's been hot work done without proper ventilation. I believe there was a fire extinguisher nearby, but you should always have someone there when you're doing hot work. Plus, the fire department should know what you're doing. That's in case they have to come get you. While what you do on your property is your business is the fundamental rule, that goes out the door when what you're doing is going to, one, compromise your structure, possibly, and nearby structures. There could be so many things going on down there that's why you need someone familiar with geology. That's why you need the geotech. And you need to go through proper oversight in the jurisdiction if permits are required. Get your permits, go through plan review, have your required inspections for what you're building down there, and follow those rules. There's a number of different things that could take place down there that if they did, it would be hard, if not impossible, to get to her in time should those happen. So I'm glad whoever turned her in did that. That's for her own safety and so they can look at what work has been done to make sure that the foundation of her home and nearby homes has not been compromised. What's the take from this? You don't mess with soils. Not without a geotech. Nope.
Dave makes Kala's entire project sound far, far more dangerous than I initially thought. And I already thought it was a complete death trap. The following day, Bogado, the investigative reporter, posted another TikTok detailing even more critical information that she's uncovered about the story.
Do you think her neighbors are blind?
No, they're not blind, but they didn't know. They had no idea. Hi, my name is Bogado, and I'm an investigative reporter. Several weeks ago, after I noticed that Kayla had posted a video of one of her neighbors without his consent, and that she had made really clear that her neighbors had no idea what was going on. I decided to try and figure out who those neighbors were. So I found out where she lived, and I noticed that almost all of her neighbors are Central American migrants or first-gen immigrants. I began contacting them. Most of them are Spanish language speakers, and not one knew about this tunnel project.
Can I say I'm surprised? No.
They're really worried about their health and their safety. They talk to me about noise, like tremendous noise, essentially noise pollution, and shaking, like just random shaking in the ground that they didn't realize where it was coming from. And several neighbors expressed to me that they were worried about reporting anything because they don't want to get entangled with immigration authorities and they don't want to be deported. So those are some of the stakes for the neighbors here.
I feel awful for our neighbors. I can't imagine hearing random construction noises for over a year with no explanation.
That said, at least one person, and maybe two, but at least one person that I've been in touch with has complained to local officials. And as of now, from what we know, this tunnel project is at least temporarily shut down. Her neighbors didn't know. They had no idea, but now they do. And some are doing something about it. And now you know too.
Aura also tweeted this the same night. I spoke with Kala, the tunnel girl's migrant neighbors, last month. The same neighbors she poked fun of for being ignorant of what she was doing. They were worried about their safety. I know some began lodging complaints after we talked. Kala now says inspectors shut her down. Later the same day, Kala was seen addressing Aura's reporting by replying to a comment regarding the video. Feeling so disappointed after hearing from investigative reporter Aura Bogado that most of Kala's neighbors are Central American migrants. Power dynamics here stink of white privilege. She's unethical in injecting her own concerns into their minds. I get along well with my neighbors and have lived here for many years. Totally exaggerated. I found her remarks objective. Respectfully, Kala, as a Latina and immigrant myself, I find your comment reply insensitive and lacking of understanding of what underprivileged groups have to go through. I do understand the underprivileged part. What I don't understand is the complaint of dust and noise, especially the asthma allegation. See, there's no dust or pollution from my project. Yes, there is noise, but I have been making many attempts at mitigating it out of respect for the neighbors. This reporter came in with these concerns, and now they are worried. I would be too. If there is nothing to be worried about, then you should be fine. By providing these immigrants with fair, critical questions and making them aware of their rights is not the problem. I don't disagree. Just don't think the way it was done is right. Someone else commented, I was all for this until I learned there are neighbors involved. They are not. The impact on the neighbors is not more than any other construction project. Outsiders calling them one by one, freaking them out. Unfortunate. Another concerned fan said, after learning that you live in a neighborhood with a heavy immigrant population that might feel uncomfortable calling the police or city employees, I think you have been a terrible neighbor, inconsiderate, and potentially dangerous. That is not correct. I have been in the neighborhood for a long time and like and get along with the neighbors. Took great effort to mitigate impact on them. Never an issue until an outsider poked around. One commenter added, Trump supporter, and Kala replied, nope. I respect Trump as a former president, but also respect President Biden. Another person commented, go figure she's a Trumper. And Kala said, I'm not. I respect Trump as a former president. Also, I respect President Biden. There are things I like and dislike about both. They replied, okay. Still you respect him. I'm good. Later the same day, a Reddit post goes up with the title, what legal consequences could this TikTok user possibly face for building a mine shaft under her suburban residential home with no permits? One reply under the post says, in general, the rule for unpermitted work is to stop work notice and an option to get a permit and make it compliant to code, or get a permit to remove the unpermitted work. Failing to abide by the stop work notice can lead to all kinds of things, not the least of which could be the property being condemned, usually just for structures, but potentially the lot, plus fines, etc. Another reply adds, the noise pollution and silica dust would fall under nuisance law. That would be a civil suit against her for loss of quiet enjoyment and negative health effects by her neighbors. The silica dust would really only be from dumping rocks outside, and that can easily be remediated with water, and tents of sheeting for dumping and unloading into her truck. It does not appear she is doing that. Someone doing underground construction would need a building permit though. Zoning issues would usually not apply if it's all underground. Issues of occupancy, square footage, egress, utility hookups, safety, selling of the house, all come into play in terms of the building permit. Following this, on New Year's Eve, Kala was still in the comments of her TikToks, arguing with people that are supporting the investigative reporter. As requested by the city, I had an experienced engineer survey the construction and saw no stability issues. I support immigrants and will never allow anyone to get in trouble because of me. Additionally, I smile and say hi to them all the time. If they had a concern, don't you think one might bring it up with me? We've been neighbors for 13 years. If a reporter comes up to you and says, "Did you know what your neighbor is doing underground? Did you know there might be hazards?" Of course you will be worried. I hear you. Just something to consider is that fear of deportation and being put into detention for years is truly enough to make peace even when things are bothering you. It is literal torture they're faced with if they make waves. Thanks for your responses. I understand that, and have personally sheltered a friend who is undocumented. From here, Kala's story got picked up in the mainstream news, with every outlet from the local Fox News to CNN and Business Insider covering it. In the CNN story, they talked to one of Kala's neighbors named David, and he says, "You hear some noise throughout the day, but nothing loud enough that would make you call in a noise complaint. Besides that, no new details have come out regarding this story. But I'm sure we'll see very, very soon if Kala's tunnel project will make a return or if it'll be shut down completely. But now you have all the details on this story of how an IT director from Northern Virginia went viral on TikTok for digging a mine tunnel in her own basement, which started back in October of 2022 and has continued all the way until it was confirmed to be shut down on December 28th, 2023. Along the way, gaining its fair share of criticism for a lack of proper safety protocol, and Kala disregarding the well-being of her neighbors. But now that you know pretty much everything there is to know about this situation, I need to know, what do you think about everything? Is Kala in the wrong for building this mine tunnel under her house? Do you think the project is being run safely? And what do you think about the details the investigative reporter uncovered regarding Kala's neighbors? Let me know all of that and anything I missed down in the comments. If you want to stay caught up on even more internet drama and news, please consider subscribing and check out any of my recent videos. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Let's have a great 2024, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is how legends are made. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. This is how legends are made. Above it all.